Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I welcome you all in our today's session. As you can see, our today's topic of discussion is public speaking skills. So now here in the public speaking skills, which is very important for our day-to-day life, especially if in the academic arena, when actually you're working with your speaking, then public speaking skills actually it comes first. And also in your professional life, it also carries some importance. Now, I would like to give you some rubrics, or I would like to give you some principles that how actually you can improve your speaking skills and what are the important issues that actually we need to take care of when it comes to speaking skills. Okay, if you just take a look at this screen, you can see that why actually it has become so essential as a skill. So essential professional skills where actually you can find that communication skill is important. And as a professional, if you want to talk about it, then also time management, which is very important as a professional or as an academician or as a student in whatever way actually you want to explain it. Then leadership, that is another skill or another quality which is very important. Also personal skills. Sometimes we also call it interpersonal skills or interpersonal skills. That means where actually how actually we can have communication with other people. So that depends on the personal skills. It's about your individuality. It's about your personality. And of course, there is teamwork. That means collaboration, which is very important as a skill. Then obviously flexibility, because it gives some kind of upper hand, especially when you are a professional. So if you're flexible, then that means you can cope up with the situation quite easily. And of course, you can see the public speaking, which is one of the most essential professional skills, we must say. Why is it important? We'll be discussing that thing in a moment, but let's see what we have here. Now, very briefly, how can actually we can define this public speaking? As you can see on the screen, it says public speaking is a soft skill that requires excellent communication skills, enthusiasm, and the ability to engage with an audience. So you see, it's a soft skill, and you must have a certain kind of communication skill. And of course, you must be very spontaneous or enthusiastic if you really want to be a public speaker, and the ability to engage with an audience. That means, for example, right at this moment, I'm having this lecture with you, and you are my audience. So I must make it interesting, and also I should try to engage you, so that means participatory, and also they will find it interesting. So they would love to listen to you. Your audience, it will love to listen to you. Then public speakers make presentations to a group. Of course, for example, if you take this lecture as a public speaking now, I am having this presentation to you in front of you. Okay, so you're a group of people, and I'm having this public speaking. Now, presentations range from speaking to a small group of employees to presenting to a large audience at a national conference or event. The same skill set and ability to be comfortably speaking in public are required regardless of the size of the group. So, for example, you can have a speech in front of 10 people, or maybe 20, or maybe 100 people, or more than that. But whatever the size is, or the number of the people, I mean, in your audience, but the same kind of skill set actually it will require if you really want to be a good public speaker. Now, here actually, let's see that why employers actually they value public speaking. For example, after your graduation, of course, actually you're going to join in any companies or in multinational companies, or maybe you may have your own companies, you may have your own business. But here you can see in every way, you can see the public speaking, it has some importance. It's very important because if you really want to convince your customers, your clients, if you really want to have communication with your seniors, or even with your subordinates, then you must have a good public speaking, public speaking quality, so that it will help you to convince the people. Now, okay, sorry, yeah. So the art of public speaking comes into play not only in the delivery of speeches and public talks, but also in professional presentations, training events, and motivational speaking. So it's not only, about this delivery of speeches and public talks, but also you can see professional presentations. They're also a sort of public speaking, and also training events. For example, if you're a trainer, then you need to train people. So that is a sort of public speaking. And of course, motivational speakers, they're public speakers, so they need these quality if they really want to motivate their audience through their speaking or speeches. And you see the consultants, training managers, or trainers, clergymen, and then sales representatives, and of course teachers, for example, and all have a reason at times to speak in front of others. So people like this, these professionals actually, they need this public speaking a lot. Clergymen, it means that, as you can see, in the mosque and also in different other like churches or and different other, religious places, you can see that there, uh, you can see that religious leaders or clergymen, for example, in our case, for the Muslim people, you can see the imams, especially on Fridays. So in the Friday sermon, you can see they try to convince people. They try to talk about different topics regarding religion and also, excuse me, our day-to-day life, matters of life. Just a second. So they want to place their cases in such a way, they try to reason people so that people will be convinced and they will listen to them. So this is the thing. And if the imams or the religious leaders, if they're not good public speaker, you'll find that people will not listen to them. They will not follow their instructions. They will not take their advice. So that's why public speaking skills. It's not only for the students. It's not only for the teachers, not only for the lawyers or consultants or trainers, managers. In every sector, you can find the usefulness of public speaking. So that's why I told you that it's a very important skill that we must have in our life. Now, here is a lackluster speaker can make a solid product or proposal seem less than enticing, while a polished speaker can add allurement, or can add allure to an otherwise mediocre proposition. So you can see a lackluster speaker, for example, a speaker actually who is not that much skilled, who is not a good public speaker, or who doesn't know the art of persuasion, who doesn't know how to convince or persuade people. So you can find that even your product is good, and if you're a salesman or sales representative, so you can see that because of you lack this public speaking skill, and as a result, your product is good, but you will not be able to convince people to buy it. But on the other hand, some sales representatives, they're very good speaker. They know how to convince people. So they know how to allure people, how to entice them. So they can allure people to buy their product, even though those products are of mediocre qualities. So that's why you can see that public speakers, this public speaking skill, why it is very important. That means you can convince people. Now, most professional level roles require some amount of public speaking to carry out functions like presenting findings, pitching proposals, training junior staff, and leading meetings. For example, if you're a leader, if you're a manager, then you need to lead a meeting, or maybe you're working in a multinational company, and as an IT expert, then you need to brief your colleagues. So there actually you can see that this public speaking skill, you'll find it very helpful. It will help you to improve as a professional and also to convince your co-workers. Now, here, just a second. Let me share it again. Okay, now I'm going to play a video, and it's you can see one public speaker. Just listen to him, that how actually he talks in front of an audience. Okay, it's just an example so that you find it. You may take the interest in it, that public speaking, how it should be.
A few years ago, I began to observe something in my own behavior that made me a bit uncomfortable. And that was that from the moment that I woke up to the morning, to the end of the day, my life was a series of screens. I started the day with the thing that woke me up first thing in the morning, my phone. And so I sat there in bed watching various cooking videos on Instagram and bouncing around between a bunch of different applications. But then it was time to get out of bed and cook breakfast. And so the thing that I focused then on, in addition to the omelet in the pan, was the iPad that was right next to the oven. And then it was time to do some work. And so I went to a different screen, which was attached to another screen itself, all the while this little devil on my wrist was tapping and beeping and blooping and distracting me as I was trying to get important stuff done. But there was one particular offender out of all of these different devices that I wasted more time on than anything else. That was this dastardly thing, my phone. I could spend hours on this thing every single day. And so I decided to essentially, for all intents and purposes, get rid of the thing for a month. As an experiment, I thought I'm gonna live on this thing for just 30 minutes every single day at a maximum. And so this is the amount of time I have for maps. This is the amount of time to call my mother. This is the amount of time that I have for everything that I could possibly want to do, to listen to music, to listen to podcasts. And I observed what happened during this time. It took about a week to adjust downward into a new...
Okay, dear students, so what was it about, and how did you find it, this speaker? So what do you think about it? So for whatever actually you have seen it there. Yes. Is there anyone who would like to comment on it? Fahima Akhtar, are you there? Fahima?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you saw him, right? So what do you think? I mean, you found him that he's very expert in public speaking, right? Fahima? Ahad?
Yes, sir.
So what is your opinion? What do you think?
Sir,
so you see, public speaking actually it should be like this. I mean, you need to take help from different gadgets or different kinds of technical things, and also like PowerPoint presentation or different kinds of multimedia. I mean, you can take help from them. And also the way actually he was presenting the things, it was very dramatic. It was very, I mean, he's keeping suspense there. And he has used different kinds of statistics. And also the personal touch. That means he is talking about the use of cell phone, that all the time he is engrossed in cell phone. He is using cell phone a lot. But later on, he decided that he would like to keep the cell phone away, and he would like to spend time more on different other things. And he wanted to witness the changes in his life, and he found it there. Since actually we don't have enough time, so that's why actually I didn't play it for long, but you can find it on TED Talk, and I will share the link with you later on at the end of the class. So if you really want to watch it, then you can watch it by yourself, and then you can get the vibe that what it should be like. I mean, the public speaking. And I hope you'll find it very interesting and encouraging. Okay, now here see, public speaking is the art of using words to share information with an audience. So you see, it's an art. So there in that video, actually, you can see that how that person, that speaker, actually, he was sharing his own experience of using cell phone, and how actually it has become something disastrous. How actually, and he didn't find any time to do anything else. Most of the time, actually, he was glued to the screen of the cell phone. But very artistically, using words and sentences, he is trying to present those information in front of his audience. He wants to captivate them, and he did it successfully. So it includes speaking to audiences of any size, from a handful of seminar participants to millions of people watching on television. So you see, millions of people watching on television, that can be also public speaking, because you see these TED Talk, uh, that man actually he did maybe years back. Now on YouTube and also on television, we can watch it, and millions of people they're watching it. Okay, so mastering public speaking requires first differentiating between four of the primary types of public speaking. So this is very important. You can see four different kinds of primary public speaking that actually you need to take care of. One is ceremonial, another one is demonstrative, another one is informative, and persuasive. Persuasive. So ceremonial, demonstrative, informative, and persuasive. Let's see what is the first time. Now, here you see the ceremonial speaking. I hope that from the very term ceremony, you can understand it, that what does it mean? We have different ceremonies in our life, for example, birthday party, wedding ceremony, marriage ceremony, okay? Different kinds of ceremonies actually we have in our lives. So you can see most people will give some sort of ceremonial speech during their lifetime. These speeches mark special occasions. They're common at weddings, graduations, and funerals, as well as large birthday celebrations and office holiday parties. Ceremonially speaking typically involves the toast and is personal, with an intimate emotional connection to the people hearing it. So you can see uh, in our country, actually, we don't have that practice, especially in our universities. If you see that in the Western world, in most of the universities, you can see they call it inauguration ceremony, or I mean, when their semester begins, or when actually, for example, the students who are going to start their first university life. So before that, actually, you can see they have this kind of ceremony. So there, one of the students, on behalf of all the students, actually he or she will deliver a speech. So that is a kind of speech, you can see. And also when after the graduation, when they finish the graduation on the day of their convocation, so you can see one of the convokees, he or she will, on behalf of all the students, he or she will give a lecture. She will actually deliver a speech, give a speech. So that is called a valedictorian. That person is valedictorian, so that is called valedictorian speech. You can find it lots of examples or lots of videos. Actually, you can find it on YouTube. If you're interested in, you can watch it on YouTube. So those are also kind of ceremony. And also in Western world, you can see, especially during the wedding ceremony, there you can see on the wedding day, when actually they're having the lunch or dinner, I mean, having food all together, when they're having the party, at one point of the party, you can see the best man, maybe he is a friend, he is a friend of the, you can see the bridegroom. So one of the friends of the bridegroom, he is the best man, so he will give a speech. And sometimes they try to make it very funny, very interesting, informative, and also they wish a better life for the newly wedded couples. So you can see they give a speech in front of all the people. So these all are different kinds of ceremonial speech. Even you can see in our religion, you can also find some examples like this. For example, in the funeral service, there you can see at the funeral, one of the persons, right after the funeral prayer, one of the persons will stand in front of the people. Maybe he is very close to the deceased person, so he will say something good about the deceased person, and also he will say that if you have any objections, or if it happens that he borrowed some money from you, or if he has done something bad to you, please forgive him. You can contact me if you, for example, that deceased person has borrowed some money from somebody else, but he couldn't repay it before that actually he died. So maybe his son or maybe his brother, they will take the responsibility to repay that loan. So that is also a kind of ceremonial speech, you can say. I mean, during the funeral service, they give these kind of speeches. Okay, so I gave you some examples that what is ceremonial speech. Ceremony, from their ceremonial speech or speaking. That is a kind of public speaking. Now, there is another kind of public speaking that we call demonstrative public speaking, or demonstrative speaking, you can say. For example, science demonstrations and role playing are types of demonstrative speaking. This type of public speaking requires being able to speak clearly and concisely to describe actions and to perform those actions while speaking. Uh, a demonstrative speaker may explain the process behind generating power while uh, cycling to power a toaster, for example. The idea behind demonstrative speaking is that the audience members leave with the knowledge about how to do something. I can give you a very plain and simple example of demonstrative speaking. You can see on television or even on YouTube, there are thousands of YouTube channels where actually you can find that mm, uh, there are lots of people, especially those who are experts in cooking, chefs, or you can say the connoisseur, or you can say different kinds of people who are experts in cooking. So they are uploading different kinds of videos explaining different kinds of recipes of different kinds of foods. Uh, so they cook food, and while they're cooking, they're giving the instructions how to cook it and how to use those ingredients, and also the measurement of using those different kinds of ingredients while cooking. So they try to give all these things. I mean, especially in this kind of demonstrative speaking. So in the demonstrative speaking, we see that a speaker is, excuse me, he or she is explaining the process. And so here she actually explains the process. And when we finish watching that, that video, especially that kind of demonstrative speech, when we finish listening to that or watching to those videos, actually, we get some ideas or knowledge about that, how to do it ourselves. So we watch that kind of videos, we take the instructions, and then we try to do it ourselves. So this is the purpose of demonstrative speaking. And also in the labs, especially you can see in the lab, science labs, there you can see that your faculty members, your teachers, or maybe your mentors, instructors, actually they are showing you different kinds of things on how to, different kinds of scientific experiments. They try to show you so that later on you can do it yourself, you can perform it yourself. So that is also a kind of demonstrative speech, especially in the lab, since especially computer science and physics, chemistry, actually you have this kind of stuff in the lab. So your faculty, your teachers, the way actually they are trying to demonstrate the thing. So that is the part of the demonstrative speech. Then comes informative speaking. So you can see information from there, informative speaking. Now, with informative speaking, the speaker is trying to simply to explain a concept to the audience members. That means he will try to explain the thing, the concept to the audience, and he'll provide different kinds of statistics, different kinds of information. Here we have some examples. You can see college lecture courses involve informative speaking, as do industry conferences, and public officials sharing vital information. So public officials sharing vital information. For example, during these, you can say that this COVID-19 situation, in this pandemic situation, you can see we can see different kinds of instructions, different kinds of stuff on television regarding our hygiene from the health ministry. So you see, these are kind of informative speech. These are the examples of informative speech. So different public officials, health officials, actually, they're giving different kinds of instructions and advices to the people, how they can lead a very hygienic life, so that we can avoid this infection or infectious disease, especially this contagious disease like COVID-19. So in this type of speaking, the information is what is important. So information is important, okay? So we need to get the data, we need to get the information. The speaker is not trying to get others to agree with him or to show them how to do something for themselves. Rather, he's disseminating vital information. Here, thing is that in informative speech, you can find that the information, providing information is important. Here, whether you agree with me, whether the audience, for example, when we watch television and when this sort of instruction, especially informative ads or different kinds of things are popping up on the television, they're actually, it doesn't matter that whether actually we agree with those things or not. The thing is that the information is there. We need to listen to those information and we need to follow those. Okay, during this pandemic situation, if you really want to keep ourselves safe and sound. So that is the thing. So whether you agree with those things or not, it is not the problem or it's not the thing. The main important thing is that we are provided with information and we need to take care of the information. That's it. And we need to follow those information or act according to those information. Now, the last kind of public speaking that we call persuasive speaking. Now, persuasive speaking tends to be the most glitzy. Politicians, lawyers, and clergy members use persuasive speaking. So you see, speeches given in the, already I have mentioned in the very first one, that speeches can also be persuasive. For example, uh, the religious leaders, when actually they give speeches in church or in mosques or in different other religious places, they're actually, what do they do? They only it's not only informative, they're also trying to convince us. They try to persuade us so that we believe them, and then we try to follow them in our personal life, in our family life, in our social life. So we follow those instructions provided by those leaders. Similarly, politicians, you see, during the election, before the election, actually, they will come to most of the politicians, especially the candidates, they will come with different kinds of manifestos, different kinds of ideas, opinions, different kinds of proposals. They will come in front of, and they will votes. They will ask for votes to the voters. So they try to persuade us. They try to show us that I'm better than the other candidates. So you need to vote me. So that is one thing that you see, they try to convince us that I'm better than the other persons. So other candidates, so you should vote me. Lawyers also, they do the same thing, especially in the court. They try to convince the opposition lawyers, and also they try to convince especially the judges, so that they can win the case. So you can see persuasive. They try to persuade, they try to convince, they try to make them out that I'm the best. What the point actually that I'm placing here, that is most important, and that is the thing actually you should buy it, you should go by it. So that is the thing. So this type of speaking requires practicing voice inflections and nuances of language that will convince the audience members of a certain viewpoint. So you can see, you need to have a kind of voice, because if you don't have a good voice, and your voice must be very much, it's inflections means it must have, for example, the rising intonation, falling intonation, pitch, tone. So all these things, you sometimes you have to make it very dramatic, sometimes you have to make it very appealing, sometimes you should sound very sympathetic, empathetic. So in different ways, actually, you need to convince your audience. So you need to work with your voice to convince the people. Okay, so as you can see from our day-to-day life, you can see that especially when you especially in the street, you can see there are different poor people. Actually, they ask for help to the people, and sometimes actually you see they try to convince the the passers-by, or we can say the people actually common people like us. They try to convince us that he's in a very dire situation, so he needs money, he needs help. So if he or she is able to convince us, then you see we will give them some money, because we are convinced by his appeal that he is in a very disastrous situation, he is in danger, or he is in a very he's very helpless, he's an unlucky person. So if he or she is able to convince us, then we'll give him or her money, otherwise not. So you see, and you see they will change their voice, they will sound very weak, meek and mild, and affected by different kinds of problems of the life. So in their voice, actually, it's there, we can feel it. So that's why we get convinced and we give them money, we help them. So this is the way actually, you can see that how people actually, they work with their voice to convince people. So, and also nuances of language, that means there are subtle differences, different kinds of words, use of words. For example, the word hate, that is verb, that is it means in Bangla, ঘৃণা kora. And also disgust is also a kind of word that you can also use for that. For example, scold you can use. Scold means kauke boka deya, ninda galmond kora. Vilify, that is another word. And also snob, that is another word. But all these words actually, they have some kind of differences. Not all, they sound, you can say meaning, it sounds similar, but they are not same. ইন্টেন্সিটিতে ডিফারেন্স আছে, সবগুলো শব্দের অর্থ একই রকম না। হ্যাঁ, তুমি যখন বলবা কাউকে অ্যাডমনিশ, ফর এক্সাম্পল, ইফ ইউ অ্যাডমনিশ সামওয়ান, ইটস এ কাইন্ড অফ মাইল্ড কাইন্ড অফ, you can say what should I say, খুব হালকাভাবে কাউকে নিন্দা করা সেটাকে অ্যাডমনিশ, কিন্তু স্কোল্ড করলে তাকে তীব্রভাবে নিন্দা করা, বকা দেয়া, আর ভিলিফাই তো একেবারে গালমন্দ করা রীতিমতো। তাহলে দেখো ভিলিফাই, স্কোল্ড, অ্যাডমনিশ সবগুলোর মিনিং কাছাকাছি কিন্তু একই নয়, সেগুলোর মধ্যে ইন্টেন্সিটিতে তারতম্য আছে। সো when actually as a public speaker you know to know the differences of all these words and how to use them, the intensity of the words, so nuances of language. Okay. All right. So the persuasive speakers has a stake in the outcome of the speech. So politicians, for instance, may want votes that I've already mentioned. So they will use this persuasive speech, these kind of techniques, to convince people so that people will vote them and they will be the winner at the end of the election. So that is the thing. Now, I think we are running out of time, so I would not like to take any more time from you. So we have less than 4 minutes. So instead of discussing more points about public speaking, rather I would like to stop it here today, and I'll give you 3 minutes to, if you have any question or if you want to ask anything. So these 3 minutes question and answer session. So now the floor is open to you. If you have any question, you can ask me now, dear students. Do you have any question? Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay, so was it okay? So what actually we have discussed today, that we try to understand the what is public speaking and why this public speaking skills as a skill, why is it important? And also we try to figure out different kinds of types of public speakings. And especially we have seen that there are many other types. There are many other types, but especially we have 4 different types of public speaking. One is ceremonial, another one is, okay, so here you can see it in this screen. Just I would like to recap the whole our today's lecture. So one is ceremonial, demonstrative, informative, and persuasive. Here I would like to mention one thing, that some speeches, they can be of all combination of all this. They can be ceremonial, at the same time they can be demonstrative, or maybe they can be informative and persuasive. So at the same time, for example, I told you that the religious leaders, when they give lectures, standing on the pulpit, especially in the masjid, in the mosques, you see, they try it. It's a ceremony because it's a Friday sermon. So and Friday sermon actually is a kind of ceremonial speech. Or during Hajj, you can see that during the day of Arafah, that you have already witnessed a few days back, that during the day of Arafah, you can see that the Imam actually he is giving a speech. That is the ceremony. What is the ceremony? The ceremony is that is the Hajj. So similarly, Friday sermon, that is a special kind of ceremony, and it is very important, which is very sacred for the Muslims. So you can see there actually he is giving a speech that is ceremonial. At the same time, the Imam or the religious leader, he is trying to persuade us. He is placing some reasons. He's giving us some reasons, some important ideas or opinions, and he's quoting some lines from the Holy Quran, and also he's quoting a few hadith or the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he tries to convince us so that we try to follow him. We try to follow those instructions from the religious scriptures, and we can lead a very good life. So at the same time, the speech given by the Imam on Friday, that is ceremonial, at the same time that is persuasive, at the same time that is informative. He's giving us some information. And if he is talking about Salah, that means how to offer prayer, how to offer different kinds of religious rites and rituals, how to do them. So when he shows it practically, that is demonstrating. So it can be ceremonial, Friday sermon, it can be demonstrative, it can be informative, at the same time it can be, of course, it can be persuasive. So you can see that one speech, it can be the combination of all these types. So we cannot say that specifically that is only ceremonial, this one is only informative, this one is only persuasive. It may happen, but sometimes they may overlap. So don't get confused. So that is the thing about it, okay? Understood what I've said, dear students? Is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, that's great. All right, so I'm going to upload this video on my YouTube channel, and I will share the link with you so that you can watch it again and again. And if you have any confusion, please don't forget to talk to me and contact me on Messenger or WhatsApp, or you can also call me directly over phone. Okay, thank you very much. Take care of yourself, and hope to see you soon, inshallah, and talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Okay, dear students. Okay, thank you very much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.
What?